Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sami and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So, first, let me give a shout out to Armando for coming through on the Cash App, and for everyone that's ever come through on it. I mean it when I say I appreciate that, and I thank you from the bottom of my black heart and from the depth of my black mind. I also want to thank those of you that came through any time before, and I also would one other thing before I get started is that I need to thank Red Lion ESV. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thanks a million for sharing my last one. I'm letting this one go upload. I'm going to upload this one directly, but I have a premiere that is scheduled for 3:45 p.m. my time. So I guess that'll be about 6:45 a.m. For people in Central Time. I know it's early, but I got to do it according to my time zone. Sorry, knuckleheads. But let me give a shout out to the Geek Underground. I didn't know that Golden, who uses the name Goddess in her name, and multiracial movement of the Goldensphere, addressed the Jonathan Majors conviction. I haven't for the Goldensphere for a while. I've really just sort of been on standby in case Hybrid the Sheriff might need assistance. And I give a shout out to him too. But the Goldensphere did fracture. I don't know the names of the fractures now, but the Goldensphere certainly did fracture. We did not want that. Black admixed men were not looking for this fracture, but there was nothing we could really do to stop it. And there were several black admixed men who had their minds made up that they were going to side with not the women, but with the feminist or the misandrist. Quite a few. There really wasn't much we were going to be able to do. And I ain't gonna front. One of the most vocal anti-male members had a supporter in somebody that was also sitting up in Edward Allen Anderson's Discord. Now, before I knew all about this, I tried to have a talk with him because he was pretty much saying, the only way to get around, the only way to ever get chosen was to be a Pookie. That was probably 3 years ago we had this conversation. But when Golden and Multiracial Movement talked, they asked the question why it is that black men would have anything to say about black women when this was between Majors, his Wyatt ex-girlfriend, and the district attorney. And here's my reason for that. In case they don't know, Golden and MRM. The issue here is that when he started to become famous, he had done nothing wrong, and ladies were clowning his looks before they even knew that he had a white girlfriend. Starting off publicly clowning his looks. The most famous comment was he got slave features, but other commentators were chiming in and making jokes too. Now, we already know that if you made a joke about the way a sister looks, you can do that, but somebody's going to come for you and they're going to tell you we don't talk about our black queens like this. They went unchallenged making these comments about him because he has an equatorial nose and equatorial lips and 4C hair. So they made jokes about it. I don't see it that way. That's not something about which, I have jokes about big lips and big noses, but my jokes are compliments. They're not insults. Sometimes people may not know me and they think they're insults. No, they're not. Not at all. I've seen some folks with big old Macumba na Yabange lips and they could turn their head once to the side, each side, and kiss a whole classroom full of kids. But when I say that, I'm saying it as a compliment. Because I have lips like that, so I'm boasting. I've got a somewhat wide nose. Somewhat. And There are times if I really want to brag, I'll say that it's so big I could have sniffed out bin Laden if he really existed. Stuff like that. These are things I say to brag and to boast. But you see, if they were saying he had slave features, they were equating his features with slavery, and they weren't really in mass checked for this. We brothers had to say something about that. Sisters weren't really checking each other for that a whole lot. And that's when we realized that Featurism, well, that's when I saw with my own two eyes and saw with my own two eyes what I and others really already knew, and that is that Featurism and colorism are only considered evil when you aim them at the women of the community, not at the men. That's where we really take issue. That's really, and we look at him and we say, well, you know, he got with Megan Good, same woman that ran away from her pastor husband. She ran, just vanished from him. And he went ahead and held her hand back as he was going into the courtroom. That's the issue here. That's why it is that we're looking at them, looking at the sister, and we're asking certain questions. It is because of that. And I'm looking at the sister and they're sisters to each other, of course. And I'm wondering to myself, what if it had been, would it have been different if he had looked more like Vin Diesel? Maybe the comments wouldn't have been made about his photograph, one of his first publicity photographs as an A-list star, but what would have been said anyway once he got jumped on by that white woman. You see, not one of these sisters were there when he was trying to make it. Grace Jabari, who assaulted him, was there when he was trying to make it. And what does that tell you? That tells you that she feels she owns him. All we've really said about sisters in this case is what I just mentioned. We know that they were not the ones that assaulted him and chased him down the block. We know they were not the ones to do it. So when my premiere comes out, in a few hours from now, it's about 4 hours. Hell no. Now it's about 3 hours and 45 minutes away. But when the premiere comes out, I just want you all to factor that in. That this is not my reason for mentioning what sisters did. I'm recording this now, even though you hear this before you hear the premiere. I'm now recording this after I have already recorded, edited, and uploaded the premiere, and it's just sitting on YouTube server waiting to premiere. We are not blaming the sisters for anything they did not do. Most of us who make content don't believe in that. We don't have to. When Kevin Samuel said, you can't make this it up, well, he was right, you can't. The truth is stranger than a fiction that we could have written. I wish that we could make this. I wish that I was this creative. I wish I was that smart. But maybe I will make up some fiction that is related to this truth. Maybe I'll do that. I might even narrate the stories myself. I'll think about it. In any case, thank you all for listening as always. Golden and MRM. I still wish sometimes that I could have helped to get the minds of the Goldensphere members right to where whenever a physical community did manifest somewhere, that it would have been off to a good start. I would have liked to do it. But I was trying to warn you all about something, and that was that, and this is something that you saw, MRM, the day, MRM, when you were on, I think Exoticals United is her name, when you were on her stream, And the men were talking and trying to give their 2 cents. We were trying to explain what it was like and why we didn't think that there could actually be a self-sustaining golden community the way things were now. And we weren't blaming biracial women or black admixed women if they wanted unmixed brothers or unambiguous brothers. We just said, look, that's what it seems to be the case. That's what seems to be the preference. And if that's what it is, then understand, then you're going to go back to black and you can do that, but you can't ask us to be the builders. That's what we were trying to explain. During that, and I know I was talking a lot, it was only because I was trying to give a clear picture under the assumption that a lot of the ladies listening did not know. That's why Exoticals United even said at one point, can I talk? And I was like, yeah. I didn't know that I had satisfactorily answered a question. But in that stream, MRM, remember when you said that you really weren't tripping off of a man's money that much? Remember how those ladies went in on you because of the materialism you chose to keep under control, or that didn't bother you in the first place, didn't even flare up. Whatever the case was, either you subdued it or it wasn't your challenge. Them sisters, so to speak, went in on you because of that. You're talking about, you'll just take a man flipping burgers. You should have no problem finding anybody then. I saw right there what kind of attitude that was going to be. And even you saw this with, what's her name? Bossy Empress. You saw this. You saw certainly, you said you were going to see how deep that rabbit hole went, and that rabbit hole went entirely too deep. You didn't find the bottom of it. And I can tell you I also did not. And that was the issue there. And I saw what this was going to be. The men were welcomed only for the purposes of labor. But there was nothing to gain. Neither above nor below any woman's waist, there was nothing to gain. There wasn't even much to gain from other men in this regard. Not even so much as it's not in a salute. And listen, thanks for the efforts to put something together for us. Not even so much as that. It was more like, no, you're supposed to do this and you ain't even supposed to ask what's in it for you. I didn't want it to get off to that kind of start because I knew that wasn't going to be a start at all. And what wound up happening, it fractured. And the last I heard, the beefs are still a problem. I wanted better, and the reason why I did not address the Goldensphere for a long time was because I knew at this point that there was nothing I could say that was actually going to benefit those who did listen. In any case, I guess that explains everything that I wanted to explain. You all did say that hybrid was a problem, and to be honest, I didn't watch everything that he ever put on his channel, but I did listen. And I read, if he wrote something, I would read it. I did listen to as much as I possibly could. And he never did anything or said anything that actually convicted himself. Never did. And the funny thing was that you and the woman that you all wound up disliking and couldn't stand because she seemed to like him said the same thing, which turned out to not actually be the case. And she, when I found out what I needed to know about her, it turned out that if you had known who she really was, you would have loved her. Or you would have been disgusted by what she was doing for the opposite reason. You would not have seen her as being this pick-misha, because she wasn't. Oh, she was vicious. She probably still does it for money. She was vicious. She didn't raise her voice. She kept an even tone of voice with her viciousness. She was cold and vicious. She wasn't vicious when she was provoked. She was vicious unprovoked. May still be. And he brought receipts. And so if anything, from what I can see and where I'm standing, hybrid deserves a medal for still caring at all. What I do understand, though, is that if a physical community ever does pop up, we're going to have to question to which fracture does it belong. And I don't even know the names of the fractures that resulted from the initial attempt to form a golden community. Have no clue. If it ever did pop up, and it probably would be in New Orleans, well, guess what else would happen? And Caesar Cannon was right about one reason that New Orleans could serve is that, at least in the beginning, until the next Katrina comes. What is that? Well, there's several reasons. Mr. Cannon was on point about that. It does have that kind of history. I spent considerable amount of time in New Orleans as a kid, and I did have to understand that. I had to learn that early on. But if it did pop up there, one of the things that would wind up popping its head up again would be the division even between the admixed communities or the admixed population. That would pop up even there in New Orleans too. It might actually be one of the Creole enclaves along the West Coast. It might be better, maybe. And even then, who am I to say? It's not my business because I was incapable of helping, no matter how hard I tried, what I thought I could do. Thank you all for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select, male power because they don't like it. For the golden too. Golden, non-select male power. Because guess who don't like it? And thank you all for flying again with me on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with me until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.